In this video, we want to learn how we can solve linear equations with fractions. Look at the first example. 1/3 x minus 2 is 5, and we want to find the value of x from this equation. The first thing that we notice here is that we have a 1/3 as a coefficient for x. And we don't like generally to work with fractions. We prefer to work with integers like 2, 5, 3. We don't like to work with numbers like 1/3, 1/2. So the first thing that here we have to do is to get rid of that 1/3. But how we can get rid of 1/3 in this equation? Simply, we have to multiply both sides of this equation by 3, because 3 is the reciprocal of 1/3. So if we multiply both sides of this equation by 3, we can get rid of that 1/3. Let me show you how this technique works. We multiply the left side of the equation and the right side of the equation by 5. Whatever we do with the left side of the equation, we have to do the same thing with the other side of the equation. So we multiply the left side of the equation by 3, and we multiply the right side of the equation also by 3. Now let's simplify the left side and the right side. 3 times by 1 over 3x is x. Let me tell you the reason. When we multiply 3 by 1 over 3x, what happens? When we multiply this number in the bracket, the 3 from denominator with 3 from numerator cancels. The other way that you can get the answer is to multiply 3 by 1. 3 times 1 is 3. 3 divided by 3 is 1. So when we multiply 3 in the bracket, 3 with 1/3 cancels, and we have 1x or simply x. Then don't forget to multiply 3 in the other term in the bracket. 3 times -2 is -6. In the other side of the equation, we have 15. 3 times 5 is 15. Now here simply we can find the value of x. To find x, you have two ways to find the value of x. Either you can add 6 to the both sides. If you add 6 to the both sides, 6 with -6 cancels, and x is 15 plus 6 is 21. But let me show you the better way that you can find x from this equation. I want to show you here an important skill that you can use for solving linear equations, and it can make solving linear equations much easier for you. Please pay attention. Normally, when we want to solve this type of equation, we add or we subtract a number to get rid of this number. But there is a better way to solve this type of equations. The technique is this. Whenever you have an equation, you can move the terms in the left side of the equation to the right side of the equation, or you can move the terms in the right side of the equation to the left. To do that, if you move a term from left to right or from right to left, you have to change the sign of that term. For example, suppose you want to get rid of this -6 here. Move -6 from the left to the right, but because it's -6 in the left, when it goes to the right, it would be +6. Or suppose you want to move 15 from the right to the left. You can do it, but if 15 moves to the left, you erase 15 from here, but when you move it to the left, it would be -15. Now let's see how this technique works for solving this equation. We want to solve this equation for x, so we keep x in the left, and we move 6 to the right. But remember, when you move a term from left to the right, you have to change the sign of that term. -6 goes to the right, it will be 6. 6 plus 15 is 21. Maybe this technique doesn't seem to be so much important, and you like to continue with the old way, which is adding 6 to the both sides and get rid of -6. But in the next examples that I will show you, you will see that this technique works much better than that technique. Look at the next example. 2 plus 1/5 x equals 7. We want to find the value of x. Again, we have a fraction here, 1 over 5. How we can get rid of 5 from denominator? It should be easy. We multiply both sides of the equation by 5. If we multiply both sides of the equation by 5, then we have 5 times 2 plus 1/5 x equals 5 times 7. Now, 5 times 2 is 10. 5 times by 1/5 x, attention, the 5 from denominator with 5 from numerator cancels. And then we have 1x. The other way that you can multiply 5 by this term is to multiply 5 by numerator. Attention, denominator of 5 is 1. Multiply numerator by numerator, denominator by denominator. 5 times 1 is 5. 5 over 5 is 1. So when we multiply 5 in the bracket, we have 1x, or simply x. In the other side, we have 35. 5 times 7 is 35. Now what is x from this equation? You don't need to subtract 10 from both sides. Do it in the easier way. Simply move this term to the right, and by moving that to the right, you have 35 minus 10. Don't forget to change the sign. If you move any term from left to right or right to left, don't forget to change the sign of that term. X is 35 minus 10, 25. This is the solution. This is the answer of this equation. So the technique of solving linear equations with fractions is easy. First, get to the fractions. How? Multiply both sides of the equation by an appropriate number. Look at this example. 2 over 5x minus 1 equals 3x over 10 plus 3. Here we have two fractions. 2 over 5, 3 over 10, or 3x over 10. So basically we want to get rid of these denominators. We don't like these numbers in the denominator. How we can get rid of 5 and 10? So we have to multiply both sides of this equation by an appropriate number. What is the number that we have to multiply both sides to help us get rid of 5 and 10? Basically here we have to find the least common multiple of 5 and 10. The number that we have to multiply both sides is 10. By multiplying both sides by 10, we have 10 times 2/5 x minus 1 equals 10 times 3x over 10 plus 3. Before I continue and I show you the solution of this equation fully, let me explain something to you. Attention to this term here. 3x over 10 is basically like 3 over 10x. It's good to know sometimes that you can write this term in this format as well. Because between 3 and x here is multiplication, and between 3 and x here is also multiplication. So this term is the same as this term. And sometimes we need to write the term that is in this form in this format. And sometimes we have to do the opposite. So it's good to know this. Let's back to the question. Let's multiply 10 in the brackets. If you multiply 10 in the bracket in the left side, please pay attention. You have two ways. You can multiply 10 by 2. 10 times 2 is 20. 20 divided by 5 is 4. So the answer is 4x. But the better way is not to multiply 10 by 2 first, then divide by 5. The better way is to divide 10 by 5, then multiply by 2. Why this technique is better? Because when you multiply 10 by 2, maybe this multiplication gives you a bigger number, and then dividing would be harder. But if you divide first, then you have a smaller number, and multiplying smaller numbers is easier. For example, look at this. Suppose you have 12 times by, for example, 13 over 6. If you want to multiply 12 by 13, then you have a big number, 156. And then you have to divide 156 by 6. The easier way is to divide 12 by 6. What is 12 divided by 6? 2. 2 times 13, 26. This way is easier. So, Whenever you want to multiply a number by a fraction, first check to divide this by this, then multiply by the numerator. So 10 divided by 5, 2. Then 2 times 2, 4. This is the better way for doing this. 4x. Don't forget to multiply 10 by negative 1. 10 times negative 1 is negative 10. Now move to the other side. Again here you can say 10 times 3 divided by 10, but the better way is to cancel 10 with 10, and the answer is 3x. So we have 3x plus 10 times 3, 30. Now for finding x from this equation, you can do it with the old style, which is adding, for example, 10 both sides to get rid of this 10. Then after that you have to get rid of this 3x, so you have to subtract 3x, and it takes so much time. Let me show you the better way to solve this equation, the fastest way to find x. What was the technique, if you remember? You can move any term from left to right or from right to left. Usually we like to have variables, which is usually x, in the left side, and we like to have numbers in the other side. This is the general technique for solving any linear equation. So here we like to have x here, any x here, and any number in the other side. Now for finding x, I know that I have to move this from here, from right to left, and I have to move this number to the right. Remember, when you move a term, you have to change the sign of that term. So we have 4x. 4x is already in the left, but when we move 3x to the left, it would be negative 3x. What about the right side? 30 is already in the right side, but when we move 10 to the right, it would be plus 10. Now look at this. 4x minus 3x is x, 30 plus 10 is 40. And this is the value of x. As you can see, this method is faster than the usual method that you are finding in the textbooks. Now look at this example. 2 over 3x plus 1/2 times x minus 3 equals x plus 5 over 4. We have a denominator 3, we have a denominator 2, we have a denominator 4. What number we have to multiply both sides of this equation to get rid of, to eliminate these denominators? 3 and 2. What number we need to multiply to get rid of 3 and 2? 6. But 6 is not enough for 4. 6 can help you to get rid of 3 and 2, but not 4. So what number we need to multiply both sides to get rid of 4 also? It should be bigger than 6. 12, exactly, 12, because 12 divided by 3 is 4, 12 divided by 2 is 6, 12 divided by 4 is 3. So 12 is the least common multiple between 3, 2 and 4. So we multiply both sides by 12. Also, bigger numbers like 24, 48, they work also. But if you multiply both sides by bigger numbers, then to solve the equation you have to work with bigger numbers as well, and it's a little harder, but it also works. So the best number that you can multiply both sides to get rid of 3, 2 and 4 is 12. So we multiply left side of the equation and the right side of the equation by 12. Now let's simplify. What is 12 times 2 there? Don't forget, you can multiply 12 by 2 and 24 divided by 3 is 8. But this is not the best way. Practice in the right way. 12 divided by 3 is 4. 4 times 2 is 8. The answer is the same, but this method is better. So before multiplying 12 by 2, we know that we can simplify 12 with 3. 12 divided by 3 is 4. 4 times 2 is 8. So 8x. Now multiply 12. Now multiply 12 by this term. Basically this number. 12 times 1/2 is 6. Because 12 divided by 2 is 6. So we have 6 times x minus 3. 12 times 1 divided by 2 is 6. Or 12 divided by 2 times by 1 is also 6. Now look at the other side. 12 with 4 simplify. You can simplify 12 with 4 in denominator. It would be 3. So we have 3 times x plus 5. Now what we have to do here at this step? What was the rule for solving linear equations? Move the terms from left to right or from right to left, and the idea is to move all the variables, which is x, to one side, which is usually left, and move the numbers to the other side. But the problem is that it's a mistake that you think that you can move this x to the other side, or you move 5 to the left. No, these are in a bracket. What is a bracket? What is the role of a bracket? The role of a bracket is like a trap. These are trapped in a bracket. You cannot move them. To move the variables, to move the numbers from left to right, from right to left, they should not be in the brackets. Especially when outside of the bracket we have coefficients. If this number was not here, yes, you can move x to the right, 3 to the right. You can move 5 to the left if this number was not here. But because we have numbers outside of these brackets, you are not allowed to move these numbers. So what we have to do then? Multiply the numbers in the brackets, expand them, and then you are allowed to move them. So at this step we have to do this. 8x multiply 6 in the bracket, then you have 6x minus 18. 6 times 3 is 18. 3x plus 3 times 5, 15. Now, what was the rule if you remember? We are allowed to move any term from right to left, left to right. And remember, we prefer to have variables in the left. What are variables? The variables are 8x, 6x, and 3x. But to move 3x from right to left, you have to change it to negative 3x. And numbers in the other side. 15 is already in the right side, so it's 15 or positive 15. And if you move 18 to the other side, it will be plus 18. 8x plus 6x is 14x minus 3x is 11x. 15 plus 18 is 33. Now for finding x here, yes, you can say we divide both sides by 11. And then x is 33 divided by 11, 3. The faster way is always this. X is this over that. So in general, when we have an equation in the form of ax equals b, x is always b this over that, b over a. It is the same as dividing both sides by a. But maybe this is a little faster even. So, what is x? X is 33 divided by 11, but we know that 33 divided by 11 is 3. So, x is 3. Now look at this example. 2t minus t over 2 plus t plus 1 over 4 equals t plus 1. The variable here is t, not x. The numbers in the denominator are 2 and 4. How we can get rid of 2 and 4? By multiplying both sides by not 8, because 8 works, but 8 is big number. we have a smaller number that if we multiply both sides by that number, we can get rid of 2 and 4. We want to always multiply both sides by the least common multiple. And to get rid of 2 and 4, 4 is enough. We multiply both sides by 4. So we multiply left side and the right side by 4. Then we have 4 times 2t is 8t. 4 times t over 2. Don't forget, you can simplify 4 with 2. Then you have a 2 here. 2 times t is 2t with a negative. So we have negative 2t. And finally 4 times by this term. 4 with 4 simplifies, and then we have only this. So we have plus t plus 1 over 1, which is t plus 1. What about the right side? In the right side we have 4t plus 4. Now remember the general rule: move variables to the left, numbers to the right. Variables one side, numbers other side. In the left we have 8t minus 2t plus t minus 4t. We move this variable to the left and we move 1 to the right. By moving 1 to the right, in the right side we have 4, which is already in here, minus 1. Now let's calculate the left side. 8t minus 2t is 6t, plus t is 7t, minus 4t is 3t. So we have 3t equals 4 minus 1 is 3. And what is t here? If we divide both sides by 3, or in another way, 3 divided by 3 is 1. So t is 1. And this is the solution of this equation. Now look at this example. 1 over x equals 4 over 3x minus 1/3. This equation is not a linear equation because we have variable x in the denominator. Linear equation is an equation that the degree of x is 1 and x is in the numerator. But we have variable x in the denominator here. So this is not really a linear equation. But simply we can change this equation to a linear equation. So this should not be a big problem for us to solve this equation. As you can see, we have fractions. The first fraction, the denominator of the first fraction is x. The other one is 3x and the other one is 3. What is the factor? What is the thing that we have to multiply both sides of this equation to help us get rid of x, 3x and 3? If we multiply left side and the right side by 3x, then we can get rid of all the denominators that we have. So we multiply left side and the right side by 3x. Let me write 3x here. So 3x times by 1 over x is 3. Why? Because when we want to multiply 3x by 1 over x, again, we have two ways. You can multiply numerator by numerator, then you have 3x, divide by x is 3. The other way is to simplify x from numerator with x from denominator, then you have 3 times 1. It's again 3. Now let's multiply 3x by 4 over 3x. The easier way is to first cancel this 3x from denominator with 3x from numerator. What remains? 4. So we have 4 minus Now we have to multiply 3x by 1 over 3. 3 with 3 cancels, and then we have this x and this 1. So we have negative x. Don't forget we have a negative between the terms. So 4 minus x. Now here, based on the rule that we know, we move variables usually to the left, numbers to the right. So we move x, negative x, from right to left. When we move negative x from right to left, negative x in the left would be x. And we move 3 to the right, so we have 4 minus 3. What is x then? X is 1. And this is the solution of the equation. Now look at this question. 2x minus 1 over x plus 2 equals 9 over 7. Again, this is not really a linear equation because we have x in the denominator. But easily we can change this equation to a linear equation. How? By multiplying both sides by an appropriate factor, by an appropriate term. What is that? Here we have a 7 as the denominator. Here we have another denominator, x plus 2. So what factor we have to multiply both sides of this equation to get rid of x plus 2 and 7? We have to multiply left side, which is this, and the right side, which is 9 over 7, by an appropriate term. Because we have these denominators and these are completely different expressions, so the thing that we have to multiply both sides by that factor is 7 times by x plus 2. And also we have to multiply the right side by that factor. So we multiply left side and the right side by 7 times x plus 2. After I finish this, I will show you a better way for solving this particular example. But this is the general way that we can solve all the linear equations. So this is more general, so this way is better. But the other method that I will show you after this is a little faster for this particular one. But also it only works for this particular one. Anyway, let's continue this. So we had this equation. We wanted to get rid of these denominators. To get rid of these denominators, we multiply both sides by 7 times by x plus 2. The reason that we choose this to multiply both sides by is that we have a 7, so we need 7. We have x plus 2, so we need this factor. Now, what happens if we multiply both sides by this factor? Now, we want to multiply this in this term. Because x plus 2 is in the denominator, with x plus 2 in the numerator cancel. What remains? A 7 in the numerator times by 2x minus 1. This is for the left. What about the right side? When we multiply the right side, when we multiply this by this, 7 with 7 cancels. What remains? This bracket and 9. So in the other side we have x plus 2 times 9. But it's better to write x plus 2. Do not put 9 here. It's better to put the 9 in front here. It's up to you. You can leave the 9 here. But the better way for writing is to write this number in the left side of the bracket. 9 here. And it's up to you to put a bracket for that or not. Now multiply 7 in the bracket. 7 times 2x is 14x. 7 times negative 1 is negative 7. 9 times x is 9x. 9 times 2 is 18. Move variables to the left. 14x minus 9x. 7 to the right. 18 plus 7. 5x. 14 minus 9 is 5. So 5x is 25. 18 plus 7 is 25. And x from this is this divided by that. 25 divided by 5 is 5. And this is the solution of this equation. But let me show you another way for solving this particular question. Let me remind you something from fractions. Cross multiplication. A over b is equal to c over d. Probably you remember that when we have two fractions equal to each other, then AD is equal to BC. A times D is equal to B times C. If we use this property for solving this equation, we can find x faster. Let me show you how that method works. We multiply 7 by this and we multiply x plus 2 by 9. So in this way, we can get rid of fractions that we have. But attention, this technique only works when you have just one fraction in the left, one fraction in the right, and then you can do a cross multiplication. 7 times 2x minus 1 is equal to 9 times x plus 2. If you compare this with the previous method, you can see that at the end, in that method also we get to this expression. Now multiply 7 in the bracket. 14x minus 7 is 9x plus 18. These are exactly operations that we did in the previous method. 14x minus 9x is equal to 7 plus 18 or 18 plus 7. This is 5x equals 25, and then x is 25 divided by 5, x is 5. And this is the answer that we had in the previous method as well. I hope by watching this video, now you have learned how to solve linear equations with fractions. If this video was helpful for you, please subscribe in my channel and see you in the next videos.